Right. All right.
You ready?
You ready to? Yeah. Jinx. Go ahead.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a question and answer webinar to share a little bit of information about the Yoga for Arthritis training offerings. I'm Stephanie Munaz. I started Yoga for Arthritis as an outgrowth of research investigating the effects of yoga for people with osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis, which has grown into trainings for yoga professionals and offerings for people with arthritis in the realm of yoga. I'm joined here today by Beth Novian-Hughes. Beth has recently graduated from the nation's only Masters of Science in Yoga Therapy in the country, and she's in Rome, Georgia, and will be hosting the Yoga for Arthritis Level 1 training very soon. So we're here to talk about that, and we'll be talking mostly about the upcoming training in Georgia, but of course this information applies to Yoga for Arthritis trainings that may happen after. So if you're listening to a recording of this webinar and the training in Georgia has already passed, the information still applies. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Beth and let her steer the ship. Thanks,
well,
Beth.
Thank you, Stephanie, for all of the work that you've done to get Yoga for Arthritis going. And you bragged a little on me, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about your journey to get here so that everyone can know what an awesome resource you are to have.
Sure. Thank you. So I, immediately following my own yoga teacher training from Integral Yoga, I have a very serendipitous story that I won't go in now, but I ended up in a position as a research assistant at Johns Hopkins in the Department of Rheumatology, working on a small pilot study to look at the effects of yoga for people with rheumatoid arthritis. It was a good time for that novel research. There had been very little done in that area at that time, and I had an incredibly supportive department and some great funding behind me that allowed me to stay at Johns Hopkins as I became a degree-seeking PhD student in the School of Public Health and continue expanding that research from a small pilot to a larger multi-site, multi-interventionist randomized controlled trial in both rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis. And during the time that I was doing that research, there was a strong need among yoga teachers to become better equipped to work with people having arthritis. As the public awareness started to grow that yoga could be helpful for arthritis, more people with arthritis were showing up to yoga classes, and some yoga teachers felt ill-equipped to meet their needs. At the same time, people with arthritis were looking for a class that was appropriate, and in some cases they had gone to a yoga class and found that it wasn't a good fit. So at the time that I graduated from that doctoral program, I immediately started training yoga teachers in the very protocol that we used in the research study, which we know was associated with a variety of health benefits, physical and emotional. So the training programs that we offer have grown, evolved, expanded since that time, but they're still grounded in that initial evidence that we gathered during the Johns Hopkins study, which in fact has now been replicated by a research team at NIH that I've been a part of for the past few years, looking at the feasibility and acceptability of yoga for underserved minorities living with arthritis. So that thread of research continues.
That's wonderful. And I feel very fortunate to have had met you through NUIH, and that led me to this. Actually, the one thing that led me here is I myself am diagnosed with some osteoarthritis. So there's that as well. There's a little bit of a personal reason I want to have this information as well. So first question I'd like to ask is, why should someone sign up for this training? Why should somebody decide to come to Rome, Georgia, or to wherever you're hosting the training to learn about this?
Right. So let me just make sure that everyone knows that when you mention MUIH, just to give it a little nod, that's the Maryland University of Integrative Health, where you are an alum and I'm faculty, and that's where the Master of Science in Yoga Therapy is, and that's how we met a few years ago. So
Yes.
Why would someone want to take this training? So this training, this level 1 training that we're offering in Georgia, is our basic training. It's when we first started offering teacher trainings, this was all that was offered. And yet the initial idea behind that level 1 training, which is 30 plus hours, is for yoga teachers who are already registered at the 200-hour level minimum, people who are already teaching yoga in whatever setting, to get the skills to be more comfortable working with students who have arthritis, and to help their students with arthritis to be safer within a yoga class, and for the yoga that is offered to people with arthritis to be more appropriate for that population in particular. So I think of level 1 as a first step if you're interested in eventually specializing in this area or working really closely with this population, and that's something we can get into more. But if you're teaching general classes, if you're teaching beginner classes, gentle classes, classes where you see arthritis showing up, then this is all you need to go back into your community and be able to meet the needs of your students with arthritis better.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and I think more and more what I have found is that they are showing up. You know, more and more people that have arthritis are wanting yoga because they're just finding that it really does help. If I am a yoga instructor and I haven't been showing up, what is the benefit to me if I've already been trained?
Sure.
Will this count for CEUs, or what else? How else can it?
Yeah, great question. So if you're a yoga teacher, you are going to see arthritis. Even if you're teaching advanced level hot vinyasa classes, you are going to see arthritis, because approximately 1 in 3 Americans has arthritis. It's incredibly prevalent. It's more prevalent in some demographic groups than in others, but some forms of arthritis are even common among younger folks, and certainly osteoarthritis, which is the most common, increases in prevalence as we age. So as the boomer generation gets older, and they're a generation that is going to stay active and fit as they age, yoga is becoming more popular among people living with arthritis, especially as the evidence base grows. And actually, we know from some survey research that's been done that yoga is the fastest growing form of integrative health practice for people living with any sort of health condition. So the use of yoga, not just for general wellness and exercise, but yoga to address a health concern, is growing faster than herbal medicine, than chiropractic, than massage, than use of nutrition. Yoga is the fastest growing. So it's going to be increasingly showing up. It is offered as a CEU option for people who are registered with Yoga Alliance, and we can get into the distinction between yoga teachers and yoga therapists. I think that our trainings do serve both populations. So for those who aren't familiar with that distinction, yoga teachers and yoga therapists are 2 different kinds of yoga professionals. So when I'm talking about all of those folks together, I usually say yoga professionals. And so yoga teachers generally are registered with Yoga Alliance, and CEUs are required, and Yoga for Arthritis programs count as CEU credits for yoga teachers. Yoga therapists may be registered with Yoga Alliance. They may also be credentialed with IAYT, which is the International Association for Yoga Therapists. And Yoga for Arthritis is a member school with IAYT and also can count as transfer credits or as modules within yoga therapy trainings. And as specialty programs like Yoga for Arthritis become credentialed, which is up and coming, then it can also count as CEUs for yoga therapists.
All right. So I think you may have answered this already. The qualifications this training will provide. I feel like you've kind of gotten into it. Do you want to speak a little bit more to that?
I do, because I'll get into the different ways that this might be used. So someone who completes the level 1 training, which is what we're offering in Georgia, can certainly go back into their communities and feel more confident teaching their regular classes and using some of the skills and tools that they've learned in the training in whatever classes they're teaching. They can also take the 8-week, it's 16 classes, the protocol from our research study, and offer that as a Yoga for Arthritis class. So there are lots of different models for how this material has been used. It's been adapted for chairs. It's been adapted as a drop-in, but the original protocol is 8 weeks, 16 classes, and in the training, all participants will receive a manual that details that protocol. So if you truly want to offer an evidence-based program, then you can approach a local senior center or a local hospital or rheumatology clinic and say, I've been trained in this evidence-based model and I'd like to offer it according to the research protocol. So that's another way that it can be used. If you're someone who really wants to specialize in working with this population, if you do want work in senior centers and hospitals and rheumatology clinics, if you want to be working one-on-one with people who have arthritis, if you want to be able to understand and address the nuanced differences between many forms of arthritis, then you probably want to go on beyond level 1. So after level 1 is a mentored practicum, where you work one-on-one with one of our master teachers, and the practicum in total is 40 hours. So 40 hours including teaching classes, planning those classes, writing up those classes, reflecting on them, and the first 5 of those are very closely mentored. And after the mentored practicum, you can go on to take level 2. Level 2 is our certification course. So once someone takes level 2, they become a certified Yoga for Arthritis teacher. And that's something that I really recommend if you are a yoga therapist or if you intend to work very closely with this population or really want to specialize in work with this population. Or populations like it, chronic pain in general, for example. There are even steps beyond that, but that gives you a sense of the many ways that this might be used.
So when you're in level 1, is the focus on working with groups, or is there a focus also in one-on-one, or do you wait till you get to level 2 training, or are you?
Well, we've actually, we've started making that distinction more because we really do see level 2 as being a higher level of specialization. And so level 1 focuses more on working groups, which is the kind of skill the yoga teacher is more likely to need. And there are a lot of particulars to how to work appropriately and safely with such a diverse group of students. Even if all of the students in the room have arthritis, being able to help everyone to feel safe and included, it really takes it. So you asked earlier, Beth, about, well, if I'm already a yoga teacher. A lot of times yoga teachers are not trained in how to offer the same class to many different students who really have to do very different things from each other, and how to help them all feel safe and included, and to meet the needs of everyone in the room at the same time. That really is a very different skill set than following a class plan.
Right.
So we really focus in level 1 on how to do this in groups. And level 2 look more closely at working one-on-one. And there is yoga teaching that happens one-on-one, but a lot of one-on-one sessions are yoga therapy, where you're really doing a thorough intake, understanding what needs are of that particular person, and developing a plan of care that's going to help to meet needs. And especially when so many people with arthritis are going to yoga specifically to help address their arthritis, that is a skill set that can be very useful. There are some people that really need one-on-one before they're ready for classes, or need one-on-one in addition to classes. So that comes later in level 2.
Good. So here's I love this little timeline here. It lays things out really nicely. We've been kind of talking all around. Level 1 happens first, and that's what we're going to have at Rome. Then the practicum, which is mentored, but it's only group. I would assume, because you haven't learned how to work individually yet.
Now, I will say, Beth, there are some people who take our training who are already yoga therapists, and they're already working one-on-one. So it is okay to be working one-on-one with people who have arthritis, and that can be part of the mentored practicum. But there also definitely has to be some group work.
All right. That's wonderful. So if somebody wanted to go all the way through the whole thing, what else do you all have to offer? Do you want to talk about the best?
Yeah, sure, I can do that. So after level 2, you become a Yoga for Arthritis certified teacher, and at that point, you also get a free membership to what we call YFA Plus. And there are a whole bunch of benefits associated to being a member. When you have a current membership, that's free. If you aren't yet certified, then there's a fee that you can pay in order to buy into YFA Plus. But in order to keep your certification good, we ask you to recertify every 3 years. Right now, that means taking level 2 again. So every 3 years, and the rationale behind that is that this is evidence-based, and the science changes so rapidly. We really need to know, what do we know now that we didn't know 3 years ago? We're looking at some other options for how to recertify, but bottom line is you got to touch back in with us 3 years later to you know what's going on. Now, if you are a certified teacher, you can also serve as a mentor once you've gotten approval from us for others who are completing level 1 and working through their mentorship. So we've identified a handful of certified teachers who serve as mentors. If you want to go beyond certification, then you can work toward becoming a teacher trainer. And that's a lengthy process because I have very high standards for who can take this out into the world, but it involves assisting. Beth knows.
I know.
So it involves assisting, co-teaching, leading with very close mentorship as a teacher trainer, just like we like our certified teachers to have gone through close mentorship as well. So that would be the end of the line, is actually going out into the world and taking these trainings to communities in your area.
All right. So this is kind of, on one of the other slides you mentioned there were other programs through IAYT that this is part of.
Right.
Is it just level 1, or do they have both levels?
Yeah, so they have both levels. And you can, every IAYT accredited program is structured a little bit differently. So for those of you who are familiar with yoga therapy trainings, they're all 800 plus hours. Some of them are developed so that they include a whole bunch of modules in them, some of which are required, some of which are elective. And for each yoga therapy program, there are a certain number of transfer hours that are allowed in. Like when you would apply to college, you can often transfer in credits that you've taken elsewhere. So there are a handful of trainings in which yoga for arthritis is part of the 800 hours, either required, so everyone who's doing that training has to take it, or as an elective. You can, choose from a menu of options, and if this is something you want to specialize in, it can be part of your 800 hours, or as transfer credits. So if you've taken this, it can be transferred in and count toward your 800. And I want to mention, because this is something that you had asked me earlier about, that if you take a yoga for arthritis training anywhere, it can count anywhere that yoga for arthritis trainings count. So for example, if you are a Phoenix Rising teacher and you take this training in Rome, Georgia, Phoenix Rising will recognize that, even though it wasn't taken at a Phoenix Rising facility. And same with, so you can see the list here, Integral Yoga, and Integral Yoga has several different locations. They all offer and accept yoga for arthritis, both levels 1 and level 2. So that's in San Francisco, in New York, down at Yogaville in Virginia, Tri Yoga, which is up in Boston, Yama Therapeutics, which is developing its 800-hour here in Baltimore, and then Phoenix Rising as well. So all of those 800-hour programs will accept yoga for arthritis training credits.
Right. We're actually hoping to find that list sometime in future as well.
Excellent.
To be seen.
Great.
I'm excited. I'm really excited. Now we're just going to talk about level 1 here.
Okay.
Slide number 10. Here's the week. So if you were wondering what is involved in this weekend, here's the schedule for the weekend. Is there anything you want to talk about in particular about?
There is. I'll mention, so you see in capital letters, there are a few places where it says practice class. And if everyone remembers their 200-hour training, you had to practice teaching your peers in the program. And you might look at that and think, but wait a minute, the training starts on Thursday and there's a practice class on Saturday morning. How could we possibly know enough to teach a class after a day and a half? And I want everyone to think about those practice classes as more of a laboratory. So there is only so much that you can learn looking at PowerPoint slides and sitting around discussing possible scenarios that may or may not occur in a class. When you actually get into a class setting, be it false or real, that being in that environment and pretending or that everyone in the class has arthritis, or having the people in the class exaggerate the arthritis that they actually have, it offers you an opportunity to try out some of these strategies that we're starting to discuss, and also to see where you get stuck and to notice where things come up that you're not quite sure how to handle. And we don't teach it straight through, it's stop and start. So we'll say, okay, time out, let's all look at this. What would you do here? What's another way to think about it? Let's all try something different. So there are practice classes throughout, and those are the parts of the training where people at the beginning are most intimidated and concerned about, but in retrospect after the training, people say that was by far the most valuable part of it. So you'll see that we try to structure the training so that we're really thinking about a biopsychosocial model. So the Yoga for Arthritis training does not think about arthritis as strictly a structural condition. We think about arthritis as a condition that affects the whole person, and therefore the modality that we use to address it has to consider the whole person and intervene on all levels of the person. So you're familiar, Beth, and I hope many of the people watching are familiar with the koshas, which is a model in yoga that's very similar to what biomedicine thinks about as biopsychosocial spiritual, as, you know, there are many different aspects to a person, and when one aspect is affected, they're all affected. And I mentioned earlier in our research we had physical and emotional benefits, and that's because living with arthritis doesn't just affect the physical body. So in the training we're going to think about, talk about, learn about not just what's happening structurally at the level of the joint, but what's happening systemically, biologically, psychologically, socially, etc., so that as yoga professionals, we can help to meet the needs of people with arthritis on all of those levels.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. You're almost making me cry because I'm kind of dealing with some of that myself right now. So anything else before we move on?
Yeah, why don't I mention, Beth, since you say that, you know, our training actually tends to attract a fair number of people who are yoga professionals that actually have arthritis themselves, and that the next slide is perfect for that.
You want that one? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, so after the schedule, go to the, yeah, there we go.
All fighting each other.
So, you know, it turns out there are a lot of yoga professionals who have arthritis because there are a lot of people who have arthritis. And as the yoga workforce ages, just like we all age, we are more prone to arthritis. And especially if people have been practicing yoga for decades before they understood proper form. Also, yoga tends to attract a lot of athletes who, you know, may have had repetitive motion injuries when they were young and turned to yoga as a gentler form of arthritis, but are still experiencing some of the joint problems that were set up for them in childhood. So for a variety of reasons, and because people living with arthritis often turn to yoga as a self-care strategy, and many of them then become yoga professionals themselves. So if you have arthritis and you are considering this training, point one, you are not alone. There will be other people with arthritis in this training. Obviously, we emphasize the yamas and niyamas, which includes non-harming to self and others. And so we make it really easy to take care of yourself in the training, whatever that's going to mean for you. And I know that, Beth, your facility is accessible, and we make sure that people have an opportunity to take care of their bodies. We also ask that people communicate with us in advance if you have any concerns or if you have any particular needs. People who have inflammatory forms of arthritis often experience fatigue, which can be challenging during a long training. It can also be difficult to sit still for a while, where stiffness can set in. So we certainly understand all of that, and we want you to come, and we will make it possible for you to take care of yourself and also get all of the teaching that this training has to offer.
That's all wonderful, and I'm just gonna. These are some pictures of the building that I'm going to be in. It's all on one story. You walk in the front door, and you can see. I don't know if this will show up the entrance. The studio is behind the curtain, and then down the hall there's 2 bathrooms. There's a kitchen as well. We have some sofas. Actually, if people need to lay down, we'll have chairs and tables if you want to sit at a table rather than on the floor. All kinds of options. We even have.
And if you go ahead, Beth.
I was going to say, we even have one that's like a sofa bed that you can roll out and kind of.
I might want that.
It's not in the studio space yet, but by November it will be. So if somebody wants to just open it up and just lay down there, they can do that.
That's great.
Well.
That's great.
So
yeah,
anyway.
and for anyone who uses a cane, a walker, or a wheelchair, not only do we welcome you, it's actually really helpful for the other people in the training to figure out, well, what would I do if there was somebody in the class who was in a wheelchair? What if the entire class was in wheelchairs? So there is nothing that you will not be able to do in the training if you need an assistive device to ambulate.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's very, very true. All right. So I guess we're moving on to how to apply for the training. How do you sign up? And how can you apply this training? I'm sorry, afterwards. I think we talked a little bit about this, that you can use it in a yoga studio or hospital. I personally use it in a retirement community as well. But do you have anything more to say about that?
Yeah, I will. In addition to, are you getting an echo back? Because I am.
I am not.
Okay, well then I'll just ignore my own echo and keep going. So,
Stephanie,
yes, there are many. There is an echo. Okay, so let me see what I can do about that.
It's better now. It must have been part of the internet connection.
Okay, all right. So we will actually talk in the training about the business of yoga for arthritis, which includes how do you actually make a living doing this work. I feel very strongly that, if you can't make a living doing this work, then you have to do something else to make a living, and it splits your attention and it diminishes the time and energy that you can put into this very valuable work. So it's important that yoga professionals can make a living, and there are lots of ways to do that. Because it's an emerging profession, sometimes that requires being entrepreneurial and being creative, and thinking outside of standard job application process for figuring out how to piece together a living. But I think it does mean looking to a lot of different types of facilities. There are many stakeholders who have an interest in the aging population, the obesity epidemic that this is related to, inflammation and inflammatory conditions, ability and disability. So looking to who would be interested in this work and how can I make a case for my value in that environment is something that we certainly discuss in the training and something that we can help support you with going forward. So there are some obvious options like offer a yoga for arthritis class at your local studio, but then there are many other ways to apply it as well.
All right. Well, no one has asked any questions in the chat yet. If anybody has any, now would be an awesome time to enter them. If you, at the website here, which is very easy, www.arthritis.yoga, you can get more information and you can sign up for this. On the one for Rome, there's also a link to more information about Rome.
Yeah, so that's, if people want that information, if they want to sign up for this training, so if you go to arthritis.yoga, go under teacher trainings, and it's listed there. But also, Beth, you want to tell them how they can find out more about Healing Arts Center of Rome and about Breathe Yoga Therapy?
Breathe Yoga Therapy is actually, our website is quite simple. It's RomeGA, so RomeGeorgia.yoga. And from there you can get to just about, you can get to the Healing Arts Center. There's a link to it from there. So it's very, very simple. As far as more information about Rome for this training, if you go to within the teacher trainings, if you click on the one for Rome, there's a link at the bottom of that to a PDF I put together with more information about hotels. We actually have a hotel that's 2 blocks from the studio, so you don't have to walk very far. Parking's fairly good. We have some that's right outside the back door. So that picture of that hall, you just come down that hall and in the studio, easy.
So Beth,
yes.
If somebody hasn't ever been to Georgia or to Rome, and they're interested in this training and they're trying to figure out, well, should I do it in Georgia or should I do it somewhere else? Why would they want to come to Rome?
Why would they want to come to Rome? Rome is a sleepy little city that is a great place to get away from big cities. We're a little over an hour from Atlanta. We're an hour from Chattanooga, about 2 hours from Birmingham, 2.5 hours from Nashville. There's a city I'm missing. I can't read. 2.5 hours from Knoxville. So we're kind of right. If you drew a triangle around us, there's Birmingham, Atlanta, and Chattanooga are the three cities that kind of make a triangle. But there's 3 rivers. There's lots of things to do like kayaking, water activities. There's lots of hiking trails. There's just lots of stuff to do, and there's plenty of restaurants and things. So you can basically park your car and walk to the studio and walk to restaurants and walk to a grocery store, walk to whatever you need. And I just think it's a nice place to get away from all of that city and to just have a nice, relaxing retreat for yourself as well.
I'm looking forward to coming.
Yeah. So, I can't think of anything else to really say. I mean, I love it here. I mean, we complain about traffic, but traffic's really, when I go into Atlanta, I say, why am I complaining about traffic? Because it's nothing compared to, and I know you dealing with DC and Baltimore have the same thing. It's just a slower pace.
I can walk everywhere too, so I definitely appreciate the benefits of a walkable town. So
Yeah.
I also want to say that if someone is watching this recording after we've done this live, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, reach out to Yoga for Arthritis, reach out to Healing Arts Center of Rome and Breathe Yoga Therapy if you have any questions about our programs, our facility, this training in particular. We're happy to field any questions or concerns you may have.
All right. Well, being that nobody has asked any questions, I don't have any more questions for you. I'll give you one last. Is there any last things that you want to say?
I look forward to seeing everyone in Rome very soon.
And we look forward to seeing you down here soon. I should also, if you're in Atlanta the day before, I guess it's Thursday earlier in the day.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead and mention that.
Stephanie is going to be speaking at Emory University, which is sort of like our little Ivy League school down here. And I'm so looking forward to hearing you speak there.
Yeah, so I'm going to be presenting the research as a lecturer at Emory, which is an excellent school. And I'm honored and excited to be doing that, and Beth will be there as well. So if you want to make the trip to see that, that's available as well. And Beth, did you want to say anything about what's happening before the training?
I think this question is about the Saturday thing that I'm seeing at the bottom.
Oh, yeah, right, exactly.
Are you offering a sample class at the training? And it looks, we've got a few signed up so far, so yes, I'm hoping Saturday evening we'll be doing a workshop for people that have arthritis, that are within driving distance of here, that would like to have an experience with Stephanie, but that are not yoga teachers.
Right, so if you're not a yoga professional and you've gotten this far in recording, there's an offering for you as well, so come join us on Saturday night.
Thanks, Jen. Yes, send your clients.
Right, absolutely. Send your students and clients to our Saturday evening workshop. Well, thank you so much, Beth, for your support and hospitality to come, and we're all looking forward to it.
I am too. Thank you for all of your work, your hard work. Good night, everyone.
Good night.